When the United States thought it had locked down the skies of North America, a small Scandinavian nation quietly turned the game upside down. Canada was expected to join the F-35 Club, another loyal buyer of American air power. But then, something unexpected happened. A deal emerged that stunned analysts, shook Washington, and changed how NATO sees its future air dominance. This is the story of how Sweden outsmarted the United States, and how Canada's potential purchase of the Swedish Gripen could turn the tables on decades of U.S. military control. For decades, America dominated the global fighter jet market. The F-16, the F/A-18, and the F-35 became synonymous with modern air power. Through NATO and bilateral deals, Washington not only sold aircraft, it sold dependence. Each jet came with American-made parts, American maintenance, and American software. Canada, one of America's oldest allies, was no exception. As a founding NATO member and NORAD partner, Canada relied heavily on the United States for its air defense. In the 1980s, Canada adopted the CF-18 Hornet, essentially a US-made aircraft optimized for Canadian conditions. But as time went on, maintenance costs soared, parts became obsolete, and the aging fleet began to crumble. By the mid-2000s, Canada's fighter replacement became one of the longest-running defense sagas in modern history. The US pushed hard for the F-35, sleek, stealthy, expensive. But Canada wasn't convinced. Ottawa wanted more than a price tag. It wanted sovereignty and independence in technology. And that's where Sweden entered the scene. Designed by Saab, the Jas 39 Gripen was never meant to be a superpowers jet. It was born from necessity. A fighter that could be maintained by small crews, operated from rural roads, and launched within minutes. In Swedish doctrine, survival isn't about size. It's about flexibility. While American fighters depend on massive runways, advanced logistics, and costly support systems, the Gripen thrives in chaos. It can refuel, rearm, and take off again, all within 10 minutes, even from a frozen highway. For Canada, this philosophy struck a chord. Its vast Arctic territories, small air bases, and harsh weather mirrored Sweden's conditions almost exactly. And Saab was offering something the US wouldn't: technology transfer, local assembly, and full data sovereignty, meaning Canada would own the software, the upgrades, and the operational secrets. That single detail shook Washington. While the US relied on political leverage and defense alliances, Sweden played a different game, one of strategic empathy and engineering diplomacy. Instead of selling power, Sweden sold partnership. Instead of imposing, it offered independence. By offering to co-produce Gripens in Canada, Saab tapped into something America couldn't replicate: trust in sovereignty. But it wasn't just about politics. Technically, the Gripen E version, the newest variant, matched or exceeded US jets in several critical areas. Its Erexis electronic warfare suite could blind enemy radars before they even locked on. Its low operating cost, less than half that of the F-35, meant more jets in the air more often. And its open architecture allowed Canada to modify its systems freely, something completely forbidden with US jets. In short, Sweden didn't just offer a fighter jet. By 2025, whispers in Ottawa grew louder. Defense committees questioned the long-term cost of the F-35 program. Some argued that Canada needed a fighter designed for defense, not invasion. The Gripen was the logical fit: agile, Arctic-proven, and cost-effective. Behind closed doors, Saab offered local production lines, Canadian jobs, and data security, the very things that appealed to Canada's independent defense philosophy. Military experts pointed out that Gripen could operate closer to the Arctic, maintain more frequent patrols, and integrate seamlessly with Canada's radar systems. And perhaps most importantly, it wouldn't tie Canada's defense to the U.S. industrial leash. Each time Ottawa delayed the F-35 contract, Sweden smiled quietly, because every delay meant one thing. The U.S. monopoly was slipping. When reports surfaced that Saab's Gripen was under serious consideration, Washington reacted instantly. Lobbyists pressured Canadian officials. Defense journalists published articles warning of interoperability risks. And U.S. diplomats pushed the message: Canada must stay in the F-35 program for NATO unity. But beneath the surface, something else was brewing. European nations like Finland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic were already operating Gripens successfully, with lower costs and full autonomy. If Canada joined that club, it would mark the first time a North American country chose European independence over American dominance. The U.S. had been outmaneuvered, not by military power, but by strategic intelligence and technological diplomacy. Sweden's quiet victory carried massive implications. If Canada showed the world that small nations could stand tall without buying into the trillion-dollar F-35 system, then countries like Brazil, India, and South Africa would take notice. It would redefine the global fighter jet market, not by force, but by freedom. And it wasn't just about jets anymore. It was about a new geopolitical reality, where smaller, smarter nations could outthink even the largest military powers. Sweden had proven that innovation, independence, and subtle diplomacy could rival even America's industrial empire. For over half a century, the skies were America's playground. But now, in a world where software, autonomy, and adaptability matter more than brute power, the advantage is shifting. Sweden, with its small population, neutral tradition, and visionary engineers, just showed that true power doesn't always roar the loudest. And Canada, by daring to choose sovereignty over pressure, may be about to rewrite North America's defense story forever. If you like video, press the bell icon and like and share other friends. Thanks for watching.